guys, Dorothy here today with the Stash Depot. Just want to remind you, hit the button if you want reminded of our DIYs, different videos we post, like, subscribe, comment. Please feel free to share, spread around. We also have a Facebook group that'll be in the links that you can join. So please feel free to, do any of those if you want to. Or if you're just out just to hang out to see a video and go on, that's perfectly fine too. So we're here today with the DIY, another done by Dorothy. And I was working on a recipe for clear or transparent gesso. And it was really funny because I had posted my gesso recipe on Facebook. And the wonderful Monica, posted her recipe there. And then I talked to her and asked about, posting a recipe on YouTube. And she actually gave me her recipe. Although I'm not using her recipe, I will tell you what that recipe is. It's an option. You are welcome to use it. I will tell you why I won't. But again, that is a matter of personal preference. Her recipe called for 1 cup of glue, 1/4 cup of water, and 5 to 6 tablespoons of calcium carbonate. And then she says to mix them and blend them well together. And then Vaseline the outside of your jar really well, and make sure it's covered on there really good. Add it to a jar, put the lid on it, an airtight lid, and you're good to go. So I was going to use her recipe. I immediately started looking. Well, first of all, calcium carbonate may be hard for some people to find. You can find it, usually the easiest place to find it, because it's actually lime. Ground up chalk, limestone, lime, wall putty you use for spackling, like plaster of Paris. All those are pretty much the same thing. And you can use that. I choose not to. And again, personal preference. I choose not to use plaster of Paris or lime or the ground up chalk or calcium carbonate because, for one thing, a lot of people have allergies to it. Even people that don't have allergies to it, it's can cause irritation to your skin if you use it long term, not just as a dried powdered substance, but even mixed in a substance. If you use it a lot, it can irritate you. Some people have no problems with it. Some people do. I try to do things that anybody can do. It's, sometimes it's hard to find if you're not sure exactly where to look. You may go to a big box store and go, okay, well, you can find lime or oyster shells, in the gardening section. Or you can, go to the painting department and get, the compound putty, the dry mix. Or you can go into the craft section, you can get plaster of Paris. You can get all these things. Again, they cause irritation to a lot of people, so I choose not to use them. The second reason being is I have asthma. I know a lot of people have breathing issues, be it asthma, be it just respiratory problems in general. Or you have a cold in the winter, you get respiratory infections, bronchitis, that type of thing. So people are really sensitive bronchial-wise to the powdered dust. And it can, really irritate you and cause a lot of issues. So, especially some people are crafting, they have little kids around, things like that. So I choose not to use that. So I immediately had to find another way to do this. So sort of reverted back to my original recipe that I was going to use. So we're going to try it today and see how it works. I have tried it and it worked great. I will actually show you a picture. You're not going to be able to see it extremely well because, again, it's clear, it's transparent, but you really can notice the difference. So this is the back side of my card, and you can see, it's brighter. On the front, I have our standard white gesso. On the left, on the right-hand side, I have our clear, transparent gesso. You can sort of tell. You can hear what that sounds like. Then when you do the white gesso, then when you do the clear gesso, it is the same, but it's clear. So we're going to use this recipe today. So instead of mixing, you can fully do a full recipe if you like. If you want to do a full recipe, I do 1 cup of glue, be it any kind of white glue. I'm actually using glue all today. Well, I'm not going to use glue all day, but you can use glue all. You can use, I use the Rose Art, you know, the really cheapy stuff from Walmart. You can use Elmer's, any kind of white glue. You can use Eileen's tacky glue even if you want to. I wouldn't, because it's a lot more expensive than, you know, school glue. So I'm actually going to use our Mod Podge that we made the other day because it's already a glue and water base. So instead of mixing more, I'm going to use, you know, that way I only have 1 jar sitting around. I don't have to make up more, and, you know, if I overdo it, then, so, and I'm actually, this is an 1/8, so I'm actually halving the recipe for myself today. So there's my 1/4. I might have to scrape inside my jar to get the last little bit. I try to get this to 1/2 and then I'll scrape. Okay, so, and again, I'm trying to use this up because with doing the DIYs, I have a little bit sitting around, double checking recipes before I do them and that kind of thing. So give me just a second to scrape my jar. So I'm actually going to use like a 1/2 batch today. So if I was doing a full batch, I would use, I already measured this, so I know what's in here. So, you know, a full batch, like I said, is 1 cup of glue and a 1/3 cup of water, or you can use, you know, 1/3 of, you know, the Mod Podge you made, or you can half that. And I'm actually using a 1/2 cup today. And, you know, one of the things I like with DIY is I don't want to have to sit and measure everything. So, you know, if I make my Mod Podge ahead of time, that's done. Then all I have to do is sort of guesstimate. Now, let me scrape the rest out of my thing over here. Okay, so we're good to go. So I've got a 1/2 cup of Mod Podge in here. So, and I go sort of by feel. So, like with a 1/2 cup, it's about 1/2 recipe or so. So I'm going to start with 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. Yes, cornstarch again, I know. But it's a really good replacement for anything that calls for plaster of Paris or anything like that, any craft things. So I'm going to start with that. And again, you're looking for something the consistency of Gesso. So you literally, you know, can make this. If you like your Gesso thick, go for it thick. If you like it thinner, go for it thin. You literally can, you know, do this how you want to. And, you know, you can use a whisk. The Dollar Tree has, you know, really nice plastic whisk for $1. Or you can use, you know, a spoon, or I'm actually using a rubber spatula because I don't like cleaning stuff. I mean, you know, just not into cleaning a bunch of utensils. So if I can use one and scrape my sides and stir and everything all at once, then that's what I'm going to do. Okay, see, that's not as thick as I'd like it for my Gesso. So I'm actually going to add another tablespoon. So I am at 4 tablespoons to a 1/2 cup of Mod Podge. And yes, this actually does get, you know, like the gritty lines that, you know, your texture that you look for with Gesso. It did a really, really good job, and like I said, it came out really clear. So this would be ideal if you were, you know, art journaling, or even within a journal page, you know, you wanted to use a text page and then add a color to it or whatever, but you don't want it to really seep through the back of the page. You know, this is perfect. gonna add one more because I'm a thick gesso girl. So that will be 5 tablespoons to the half a cup. And again, you know, if you're going to use the calcium carbonate, which is perfectly fine, if that's what you choose to do, then, you know, you may have to use less. I didn't even try that recipe because I can't handle the dust. One thing to think about too is your price. I can get, let's see, 16 ounces, a pound of cornstarch for 68 cents. It's sort of hard to beat that. And I'm all about the cheapest I can do because that's the more I can do. Okay, see, that's, yeah, I would actually stick with about 5 tablespoons. It's my personal preference again. So I'm going to add this to the jar that I made earlier when I was trying. And again, you know, make sure with gesso, Mod Podge, any glue-based thing you're doing, I always make sure I wipe my jars down really, really well. Okay, so let me get this in the jar, and then we'll do a couple test runs. And again, it's just like, mine's almost like a thick pancake batter. A little thicker than cake mix, but, you know, not like a thick sort of, you can see. And again, you know, if you want your gesso thicker, you know, you can make it thicker. And if you keep adding it, you'll have texture paste. It's all about how much you add and what you do with it. So, although texture paste does have paint in it, and this does not have paint in it, which is what makes it clear and transparent. Okay, so let me get my lids back on my jars here. I don't want to knock them over or anything. Okay. Trying to wipe all my everything up. Here we go. Okay, let me grab my brush really fast. Okay guys, we're back. I got my brush now. So I'm going to start with the clear, and then we'll use the white. Again, the white is the gesso we made, and this is the clear. Let me grab a folder to set things down on. So I'm actually going to use the front with the bird just to show, you know, how it works. So again, I'm going to brush it on just like I do gesso. Because it is gesso, it's just transparent. It will have, you know, that sort of white look to it. It's sort of like, you know, the white school glue color. When you brush it on, no fear, it will disappear as it dries. I'm actually going to do some lines in there so you can see how that did. Okay, wipe my brush out with some of that. Okay, and obviously we all know how the white works, but we'll do it anyway just so you guys can see the actual difference. And I will do a thin coat of white, a very thin coat. I'm not going to coat it down because obviously you're not going to be able to see through it. I really want you to be able to compare the two. Okay, really thin coat. Okay, I'm going to turn my camera off, and I'll be back in just a little bit when it dries so we can see how it looks. So just hold on, we'll be back in a little bit. Okay guys, we're back, and I wanted to show you the results. Now this is the white gesso, and you see how much darker it is. I mean, it's like really, really hard to even see. This is the clear gesso, It does have the streaks and the lines in it from the cornstarch. I like that because I want to know that you did something to it. I mean, obviously it's clear it sort of voids the purpose in doing anything, but obviously you can still see the image extremely well. Now, if you don't like the white streaks in there, then I would say back your cornstarch down. Instead of the 6 tablespoons, maybe use 4. You'll have a little bit thinner gesso, but you won't have as much cornstarch spread throughout, so it won't be as streaky. I actually like that because it gives it more of like a woven look, more like a fabric type look. So let me hold those up really good so you can see. Again, this is our transparent. So that is our DIY for today. Again, like, subscribe, comment, and we'll be back with a DIY shortly. Have a great day.